Alright guys, in this quick video, I'm going to go over the Sony RX10 drive modes and bracket settings, okay? So to get to those, you can go to the function menu, and right here on the top left by default is where your drive mode is. So if you go in there, you can actually select different drive modes. Now, single shooting is basically you're just going to focus and take a shot. That's single shooting. Alright, now if you change your drive mode to continuous shooting, you have multiple speeds here. You got low, medium, and high. So here's low. So high is going to give you the 24 frames per second when the shutter speed's fast enough. If I change my ISO, notice how it's not 24 frames per second. I have my ISO locked down to ISO 100, so the shutter speed is so slow that it can't do 24 frames per second. So if I change my ISO to auto, and now shoot, hear that? Now it's going to 24 frames per second. So the drive mode is limited by your shutter speed, okay, which is ultimately dependent on, you know, if it's fast enough in order to do 24 frames per second. So keep that in mind when using that mode. Now if we go back to function and we go over here, I just want to change my ISO back to 100. So I'm going to hit the function menu, I'm going to go back here to drive mode, and then I'm going to go down here. And here's another drive mode setting, self timer. Okay, you can change that 10 seconds, 5 seconds, 2 seconds. But the problem with self timer here is when you choose bracketing, like right here is a bracket option, you can't choose bracketing and self timer. You see what I'm saying? Because they're in the same menu here. That's why Sony added the feature in the menu system. You can actually go into bracket settings here. And in there, you can have a self-timer during bracketing. That's a really nice feature, and I have that turned on. You can select 2 seconds, 5 seconds, or 10 seconds. 2 seconds seems perfect for me. I wanted to just show you that. So you can actually use bracketing in the menu system here and still have a self-timer. Before that, you used to have to use a cable, or you had to hold the shutter button down with your finger the whole time, and that's definitely not ideal if taking long exposures. Anyway, self-timer continuous. What this feature is, basically it'll count off the given number of seconds that you choose. You can choose 5, 2, or 10. And at the end of that time span, so at the end of 2 seconds, for example, it'll take 3 shots, right? Continuous 3, 2 seconds. And then we have continuous 5, 2 seconds. So it'll take 5 shots at the end of 2 seconds, okay? That's what this one is for, self-timer continuous. Now we have bracketing continuous. Now this will take multiple exposures. Now you can change this setting as well. You can do 3 EVs and 5 images, 3 EVs apart. And let me just show you what that looks like. I'll take a picture here. And I have my self-timer set. So there you go. It took the 5 images. So if I go to the play menu, I can show you all 5 images. And one's really dark. Here's none, here's one, and here's one. So those are the 5. That's what bracketing is for. So it's great for HDR photography and things like that. Now you also have single bracketing, and this you basically have to hit the shutter for every shot. It doesn't do all 3 at once. That's what single bracketing is for, and you can go left and right to change those options as well. Now you have bracketing white balance, low and high. You can actually change this to low or high, and this basically takes a slightly different version of white balance from what the camera is currently set to. So it'll go a little bit warmer and a little bit cooler and take multiple images. Dynamic range optimizer bracketing, that does the same thing. It takes multiple shots at different dynamic range optimization settings. Okay, so it'll pump out 3 different images with various dynamic range optimization. So those are your drive mode and bracket settings. Another thing that's important when using bracketing, especially if you're using it for HDR purposes, is the ISO. You're going to want the ISO on 100 or a fixed value, because if you don't have the ISO at a fixed value, it's going to change the ISO in order to get your different exposures. If you lock down your ISO to like ISO 100, for example, it's going to change the shutter speed in order to manipulate your exposures. And that's what you want when you're taking HDRs. You don't want different ISO values, because then some images are going to be noisy and others won't, you know? So that's pretty much how it works. So, all right, guys, that's pretty much drive modes and bracketing on the RX10 Mark IV. Please be sure to subscribe, and I will catch up with you in the next video.